Hello, and welcome to another episode of TomBecka.com, where everyone has a story to tell. And I guess before I start telling this story, let me tell you a little story about myself. I like animals, but I like people more. Pure and simple, I like people more. I don't understand people that are like dog rescuers or any kind of animal rescuers. I mean, I'm not that I want to see them hurt or, dead or any. So don't give me a bunch of nasty email on that. I just don't understand the mindset of somebody like that. So that's why I have Julie on the program here to help me understand what it is about being a rescue person. Now, Julie rescues dachshunds, and she's passionate about it. And we talked about some of my issues, and we talked about what makes her so passionate about a certain breed of dog that makes her want to go and save them all, rescue them, and some of the things that she has done to take care of these animals. It's an interesting interview, and I really enjoyed it because, again, I'm not that guy. All right? I'm not that guy that gets that wound up over dogs, over pets. I like them. I'll pet them. I'll throw them a stick and say fetch, but that's about the extent of it as far as I'm concerned. It goes a lot deeper with Julie.
Well, my dad brought one home to us when I was about 9, and his name was Sam, and it was a surprise, and I just fell in love with him ever since, and I've had him ever since.
Okay, well, there's one thing between having a dachshund and having, a lot of dachshunds. And as a rescue person for dachshunds, I mean, are you a dachshund hoarder?
Well, I have 4 of my own. In our rescue, I think we have about 30 available right now for adoption. To some people, it might be a hoarding, where they only are comfortable with one dog. But sometimes it's a lot. Having 4 is a lot, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I'd probably have 100 if I had some land and, could have 100.
So we've heard of crazy cat ladies. You're a crazy dachshund lady.
Yep. There's quite a few of us in our rescue group.
Really?
Yeah.
You mean, okay, so it's not just you. It's a bunch of people?
Yeah. Yep. Our board is 7 members, and we all have dachshunds, some up to 7 dachshunds. And, and then to have that many dogs, you have to, depending upon where you live, you have to have an avocation permit from the Humane Society to allow you to have more than 3. 3 is at least where I live anyway, 3 is the legal limit. And then to be able to have more, you have to apply for a permit with the Humane Society. And I could have up to 5. Unless it's changed to 6. But I did have 5 at one time, and Sissy passed in 2010.
Okay, now where do you find, when you say you rescue animals, who do you rescue these animals from?
Well, our rescue group has gotten to be really, really nationally known now. So we get intake requests from shelters all over the country, puppy mills or breeders that are closing down, people that need to surrender their dog for whatever reason, strays, It's a whole gamut of intake requests that we get, and they come in daily. These requests come in daily. It's a shame. I mean, I wish people would keep their dogs, but we get them daily. Now, we'll gladly take them from the puppy mills and get those puppy mills shut down. But, sometimes when people are giving away their animals that they've had for 10 years and they're moving or something like that, we kind of view the puppy mills and the dogs that are in close to death or danger of being euthanized or something, those take priority.
Okay, now, I have an image of what a puppy mill is, but I'm not sure it's accurate. So what is a puppy mill?
So a puppy mill is a horrific mass breeding facility used strictly for pumping out puppies for money. And these can be with cages stacked on top of each other where they urinate and defecate on each other. They have to fight for food. These dogs have probably never walked on grass. We've brought dogs into, our rescue and did an intake at my house several times where it was their first time on grass, and they just walk real gingerly because they're used to the wires of the cage. And some puppy mills have thousands of dogs, some have hundreds of dogs, and they just made them heat cycle after heat cycle after heat cycle, and then give the puppies to pet stores to sell, or internet operations, or It's horrible.
Is your problem the fact that the conditions are not sanitary, or is the problem the fact that you've got hundreds or thousands of dogs breeding at the same time?
It's actually both of those. Plus, the problem is they're crammed in cages. They never see vet care. They're never fed decent food. When they come to us, their teeth are falling out. Their jaws, some of them are rotted away. They come with their tail has been cut off, or they come with broken limbs or worms or heartworm or big mammary tumors, or they come with a whole host of diseases potentially because they hardly ever see a vet, and they're crammed on top of stuffed in the cages. They can't move. Sometimes they have to, if their paws get stuck in the wires or something, they have to literally chew off their leg to get free. It's just, the conditions are just horrible. They're horrible. It's no way that a pet should any animal should
now
survive
are
that way.
certain in puppy mills, are certain animals, certain dogs more prone to be in a puppy mill than others? In other words, are dachshunds more likely to be in a puppy mill than, let's say, pit bulls or anything in between?
All breeds and cats, all breeds and cats are in mills.
And then, of course, if they get busted, the cops come in and bust them, then they're fined and jailed, maybe in some cases. Or
that's the problem. It's not illegal. They're not illegal. All they have to do, all these puppy millers and breeders have to do, is provide food, water, shelter, and then visit a vet once a year. And that's acceptable. Now, in Nebraska, which is starting to become one of the biggest puppy mill states because we have really wide open spaces, they stick these cages out in the middle of nowhere, and there's no shelter, there's no shade, there's no safety from the snowstorms. So some of them, get too hot and die, and some of them get too cold and freeze to death.
Are there good puppy mills out there?
No.
In other words, are there good mass breeders out there?
No.
No.
There might be some good breed-specific breeders that breed for the integrity of the dog and to maintain the integrity of that particular breed, but they don't breed in mass. They might breed a litter once a year or once every 5 years or something. Mm-hmm. But mass breeders and puppy millers, there's no good ones out there.
Okay, so and then if the puppy millers are coming to you to rescue them, are they just getting tired of it and say, look, we got all these dogs here, you take them, we can't sell these? Or are how do they come to you?
If we find out that a puppy miller is going out of business and they'll work with rescues, we'll definitely take the dogs. We try to have a relationship where we can acquire the dogs and get them the home environment and the life that they deserve. We hear about possibly a bunch of dogs being dumped somewhere, and then we try to go and get them wherever they were dumped.
Okay, so you'll get a tip on that, and then you'll just show up.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes, it's a fine line.
What do you mean? Well, okay, let me ask you this. Would you ever be proactive in a rescue? In other words, would you and, you say the other Dachshund rescuers, would you ever go to a puppy mill that you found out about, go in and unlock the cages and bring the dogs and kidnap them, if you will, to treat them?
It would have to be done undercover. It would have to be a mission, mm-hmm. a secret mission. It has been done. Our rescue has never participated in it, but I know of rescues throughout the country that do undercover, and will go in and get the dogs out of these situations that they're going to die in.
What is it? Okay, and I don't mean to. This is going to sound maybe more harsh than I mean for it to sound.
That's okay.
There are starving children mm-hmm. in the world. There are, abandoned babies. Mm-hmm. There are homeless men and veterans and mm-hmm. people like that. why does your heart bleed for dachshunds? And instead of, worrying about that, why aren't you at a homeless shelter working?
Well, my heart bleeds for the homeless and for the abandoned babies and also for the elderly. My heart bleeds for that. And I do, I am an advocate for that, but, and there are a lot of people that are an advocate for babies and the elderly and homeless people. But I just feel that my calling was for the dogs. They have no voice. They need someone to be their voice, and that's what animal rescuers do.
And that would be no matter what type of animal it was.
Yes. Yeah, we have taken breeds into our rescue group that are not dachshunds.
You have?
Yes.
Now, is that acceptable?
Is it what?
Acceptable, or
Yep,
is that okay?
Absolutely.
Right.
Any dog that's in danger, if somebody calls us and they say, "Oh, this dog is going to be killed tomorrow," we'll take it, and we'll work and network. We have a huge nationwide network that we work with to work with other rescues to see where that dog could then eventually be placed. But we'll at least tag it to come to Nebraska Dachshund Rescue, so to get it off death row.
What do you mean tag it for what?
For it'll say on its cage Nebraska Dachshund Rescue, so not to take it in to be euthanized.
Okay, so I see. So it may be at the Humane Society, but you'll have a name tag on it so that
that dog is spoken for.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, when you do that, like, what do you do when you rescue the dogs? Is it possible that you just like do the cycle? In other words, hey, we've saved this dog. Oh, here's somebody else wants it, and then you find out that it was another puppy mill. Is that? I mean, what sort of a background check do you do on the people that adopt the dogs?
Okay, so they have to fill out an application, and then we review their application. And on their application, they have to put references on their application. So we call all the references. We also do a home visit. We go physically to their home and walk around and make sure that it's acceptable for the dog, and make sure that and visit with the family, make sure that that particular dog that they're interested is a good fit with that particular family, because, it might not be. If this dog, if we know that this particular dog doesn't like children and they have small children, we approve their application, then we'll work with them to find a dog that's a better fit for them. I mean, people are going to say we're crazy, but we do.
I'll say it right now. You're crazy. Yeah.
Exactly. And we know it, but we will do what's in the best interest of that particular dog, even if it means, making somebody mad and making them irritated because they'll say, "Oh, we weren't good enough for that particular dog." But, that's really not the case. The case is we're doing what's best for the dog. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It means we're putting this dog in the best possible scenario that we can, to what the knowledge that we have, and do what's best for the dog.
You said people will say you're crazy. Mm-hmm. Is that a perception of rescue people? That no matter what I mean, I've talked to people. There was a ferret rescue, or a Saint Bernard rescue. Is the image that rescue people are crazy?
I suppose it could be. I mean, I don't think rescue people are crazy, but I suppose it could be. I think that there's probably crazier people out there than me.
Well, you're not hurting anybody. No, you're right. No,
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, there are definitely crazier people than you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I think there's probably more fanatical people out there than me. Mm-hmm. I think a desert turtle probably would trump somebody's ranch land. I mean, would not trump somebody's ranch land. Down in Nevada, there was that big stink about getting the cattle off some land that was grazing there because the desert turtle or whatever it was called needed to be there, which in my opinion, both could coexist together.
So you're not necessarily PETA people?
No.
What do you think about PETA?
No.
Because you are also a rancher, right?
Yes. My family is. I don't have one yet, but I'm looking. But we were just ranching this weekend when we were branding the cattle, which I had some ways to design how to brand cattle, of course. But I mean, I'm anti-fur. And I think PETA's anti-fur. There's probably some things that I'd change if I was the head of PETA.
Okay. All right. Hell, I know you don't want to piss off the PETA people because
Exactly.
they can make your life hell.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they're the crazy ones. No, I won't. My words, not yours. Okay. So in other words, for being a rescue here, it's just you happen to like some people collect cars, some people collect old radios. You collect dachshunds.
Yes. We rescue them.
Rescue them.
Yeah. But I guess you could call it a collection. I guess I have a collection of
I
dachshunds.
mean, if you have all these dachshunds,
and my house is filled with dachshund stuff.
Like what do you mean dachshund stuff?
Well, like a dachshund calendar and dachshund wall hangings and dachshund figurines and dachshund jammies and dachshund...
Okay, wait, okay. I gotta ask. Okay, when you say dachshund jammies, do you mean you have pajamas with dachshunds on them, or do you mean pajamas for the dachshund?
No, jammies with dachshunds on them for me.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, look, Snookums, it's time for bed. Put on your pajamas.
Yeah.
Then you do get into the realm of craziness. Then
I can't do that because they get under the covers and then they'd get way too hot.
Is there any coordination? In other words, I'm thinking, okay, so you're the Dachshund Rescue for this area here. Let's say somebody else wanted to start a Dachshund Rescue 20 miles from here. Could they do it, or is it a thing is there like some organization that sort of oversees all this and says, no, we've got one in a 60-mile radius. You can rescue St. Bernards, or you can rescue golden retrievers or something like that, right?
Right, absolutely. And there is no stipulations or boundaries. If somebody wanted to open a Dachshund Rescue right next door to my house, they could. And as long as it was a reputable, appropriate rescue and doing it for the right reasons, by all means do it.
But how do you know it's reputable? In other words, you say, okay, I want to start a Dachshund Rescue, and the next thing you know, I'm just another puppy mill or somebody that abuses animals or something like that. How do you know it's a reputable rescue?
Well, you bring up a good point, because some people do call themselves a rescue, and they're not a rescue. They can be a puppy mill or breeding facility or a hoarding facility. Most reputable rescues will follow the charity guidelines of they'll acquire a 501c3, they'll have bylaws, they'll have board meetings, they'll have officers, of the board, they'll conduct monthly meetings and have minutes available for the public. They will bring the dogs in, give them appropriate vet care, make sure that they're placed in an appropriate foster home, and make sure that they're safe, make sure that they have food, water, and we'll provide that if the fosters are not comfortable providing the food. Generally, our fosters will just feed whatever they're feeding their own dogs, which is good. And we have visits by the Department of Ag here in Nebraska, and we network with other rescues that kind of fall into that ballpark, that have done the steps to gain knowledge about what does it take to be a good charity, basically, whether it's rescue or, Boy Scouts or a church or whatever. You want to follow the appropriate guidelines to be in good standing.
Do people write you checks to rescue these dachshunds, and because they don't want to rescue them themselves, but they say, hey, it's a good cause, here's $50 and go feed a dog? Absolutely,
yeah. We are a 501c3, so any donations that are made to our rescue group is a tax write-off. And so we actually had a fund drive over the holiday where an anonymous donor was going to match $2,500 for every dollar donated. So we were able to get $5,000 right around Christmas, which is very helpful, because a lot of the dogs, if we're getting some from Texas or Florida or Arkansas or California or Missouri, we have brought in some heartworm positive dogs, and to treat heartworm is quite expensive. So we're very thankful and appreciative of those people that do donate to our rescue group, and they can keep it coming.
and again, this is me. But and again, I think about that money could go to help feed a kid.
Absolutely,
that money could go help educate a child. That money could go and help some homeless person go into rehab or something to better the human's life.
Right. Absolutely, it could.
I'm not trying to.
I know, but there's a lot of people that think that way. That why aren't you using that money for human causes, et cetera, et cetera. But thankfully, there are a lot of charity organizations that do tend to those needs as far as protecting children and homeless and, elderly. It really, the elderly abuse of elderly really hits a chord with me. So I have a real problem with that. And I would also get myself involved in that if I had the time. But we're strong animal lovers.
Let's talk about the time aspect of it. You say if you have the time. I mean, you have a family, right? You got a job. You got, you say your family has a ranch, and so that all takes up a lot of time. How much time does it take to be a Dachshund Rescue person?
Oh boy. Well, the time we formed our board in 2008. Actually, about 6 years ago. This time, it was the end of April of 2008. And we were just some rinky-dink, quote, I guess, rescue. We formed our board sitting at Mimi's right over here, actually, on Cass, I think it is. And that was 6 years ago. And then it didn't take a lot of time. It took more time promoting and getting the dogs and bringing them in and finding fosters. But now with social media, with the increased awareness of our group, we're a nationwide group now, and so with that comes a lot of demands for time. So the time is, bringing the dogs in. Well, first of all, answering all the emails, all the phone calls, bringing the dogs in, making sure they're cared for, got to their vet appointments, getting to their new homes, doing home visits for fosters and adopters, sending out vet records to those that do adopt, talking back and forth on the phone a lot. Our adoption director, foster director, and events director. Everybody on our volunteer director, everybody on our board is busy. It's a lot of social media upkeep, a lot of communication upkeep, and just working with the vets. We have different vets in the area that we work with, and then we have some in Kansas and in different states that we work with. So it's a lot of time. When you go to rescue a dog, do you go there or do the dogs come to you? Both actually. But we have a nationwide transport network that our foster director works with. And who funds that? I think some of that's all volunteer, unless whoever is transporting from Texas is with a rescue, and then they have their funding. And then they come up, to Austin, and then from Austin to Dallas to Oklahoma. We set up legs of transport and fill those with the dogs. And that's probably all done with internet and emails and phone calls. Like yep, that. Yeah. Absolutely. And we put pleas out on our Facebook page, rescue page. There's a ton of animal rescue network pages on Facebook and people that we work with that help coordinate all that. Okay, let's talk about that real quick, and we'll do it again at the end of the podcast. But you say Facebook page, you've got a web page and all that. Give out some of the addresses. Oh, so our web page is NebraskaDachsundRescue.org, and then our Facebook page is the same. And I think we're in the process of setting up Twitter. I have never Twittered, so I don't, or tweeted or whatever. Whatever it's called. I don't know. So I think we're getting that. And then I think we're setting up Instagram. I've never done that either. And then, of course, we have our phone and fax and our mailing address. But most people will reach us on our Facebook page or either our website. Hypothetical situation. It's Thanksgiving. Family's all getting ready for dinner and that, okay? And you're all set to go over, to grandma's house for dinner or whatever. And you get a phone call. There's a dachshund in need. Do you just say, sorry, family, I got to take care of this? Or do you say, hey, sorry, dachshund, I'll pick you up on Friday? Well, first we ask how immediate the need is. We're always available. There's might be times when we don't answer our phone or we don't answer an email right away, but normally we're always available all the time. And we'll want to know how immediate is the need. Do we have a couple hours? Do we have a couple days? And depending upon where the dog is, then we'll work with our network. Like, let's say if it's in Missouri or Kansas, we'll work with our contacts down there. But Yeah, I mean, we have done it over the holidays, and we'll continue to do it over the holidays.
Well, but the question was more along the lines of what takes precedent, the family or the dogs?
Well, it's kind of a tie.
Okay.
I mean, you might get a different answer from someone else, but I guess it would depend upon if, and generally one of us is always available to have that discussion. So, if I was out, on a beach with my family and hanging out, I'd probably want to defer that to somebody else who's home and
Sure.
not having a big to-do on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So.
Okay. In other words,
they're both important.
it's on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely.
That'd be a good way to put it?
That'd be a good way to put it.
How does your family deal with this?
Well, they understand. They understand. We've had dachshunds our whole life. So, it's kind of a given. I did leave them home when we went up branding for the weekend, though, because it's, on the advice of my mother, which was very smart. She said, the cattle are going to be under a lot of stress. We had just gotten some new ones in, so the previous ones were getting used to the new ones. They were getting used to each other, and we had 102 to brand. So, her concern was that maybe their barking and some of that, their wild behavior might have spooked them and made them even more nervous, because after they brand, after you brand them, they're probably not going to gain weight for about 3 or 4 days because of all the stress that they endure.
Right.
So you want to try to minimize the stress. So they didn't come first.
Okay,
that.
so
Yeah. I can prioritize appropriately.
So yeah, if you got trying to brand some cattle, the last thing you need is the cattle all stressed out.
Exactly.
More so than they would be having their butts hit with a hot iron.
Right.
Okay. So the whole idea here of the Dachshunds, and you say, well, you had one when you were a child. Mm-hmm. Is that just like a fond childhood memory, or what?
Very much.
Yeah.
Very much. And he was a great dog. And my dad loved him to death. I mean, it is. My dad has passed since. He passed in 2006. So it's even more fond, I guess, now. And in fact, my youngest dachshund that I have now that was born at my house almost 5 years ago, I named him after the dachshund my dad brought home when I was about 9, because he started exhibiting these same behaviors that this dog did that my dad brought home. And it was almost, my mom and my sister and I call that a God wink, where dad is looking out over you and giving you these signs. And he behaves the same way that dog did. So,
any idea why your dad picked a Dachshund as opposed to any other animal?
I don't know why. I'll have to ask my mom. I think he liked wiener dogs. It might have something to do with their nickname, because my dad had a really good sense of humor. So it might have something to do with their nickname.
Yeah, I made the mistake too. I made a mistake earlier before we started the podcast, and I called it a Chihuahua, which is entirely different.
Yeah.
But you're right. Because the Dachshund is bigger and fatter and longer.
Yeah. And it has a fun nickname.
Wiener dog.
There
you go.
Yeah. So you can imagine where we go with that at times.
I don't know. Hey, it's a podcast. You can say whatever you want, but that's between you and your family. I don't want to. I don't want to. Was it okay? So was it a thing where, like you said, as a child, you're 9, you have the wiener dog, right?
Sam.
And, it was Sam. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you got Sam, and then what's the life expectancy of a Dachshund?
Well, actually, generally 15 to 17. Some have lived to be over 20. I think our Sam was about 13, and then Wrinkles was about 13, and then Sis, she was 15.
No, help me out here. Were these all at the same time? In other words, did you have a lot of wiener dogs?
Nope.
Okay, so that's what I was getting at. Okay, so you've got the dog that you have when you first, the Chihuahua that you had when you first, Dachshund, I'm sorry.
Sam.
Sam. You had Sam. Okay, you had Sam. You were 9, and you said it was, 13 years?
About,
so you're 22 or so when Sam dies. Do you automatically go and replace him and then start the dog rescue then? Had you started the dog rescue before?
Oh, we started our dog rescue here in Nebraska in 2008. So there was a few years.
where you just were just a regular dog owner.
Yes.
And then before you became a Dachshund person.
Yes.
Did you start it or did somebody find you?
Well, what happened was there was a group of girls that were sitting around and at a kind of a dachshund play date called Dachshunds Anonymous, and that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Yep.
Wait. Okay. So you and some girlfriends are just hanging around, right? You're having a conversation at a Dachshund play date. Okay, I was just thinking, okay, so you're all friends, you all have the same type of dog. You'd say, hey, let's all go out to the dog park and let the dogs run around. That sort of thing?
And now that group is called Dachshunds Anonymous, and it's a very big group now where every month they get together, and a lot of dachshund owners get together and socialize their dogs, and they have a great time, talking with each other's families and talking about dachshunds, and the dogs get to socialize and play together.
What do you say about a dachshund after you've said everything about a dachshund? I mean, it's a dachshund. It's a nice dog. It's cute. The dog's name is Sam. What else is there to talk about?
Oh, their personalities and their behavior and how they irritate you and how they make you laugh and what they do and, oh, he did this and he ate that and he chewed this and he wrecked this and he tore that and I got to get a new this and... oh, I'm going to take him here. We're going to go there.
So you talked about your dachshunds the way that moms would talk about their kids.
Yes.
Is your dachshund a kid?
I have 4 of them. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. I treat them like kids.
Do you have children?
No, I do not.
You don't have children. Okay, you don't have children, but you do have the dachshunds, and you consider them to be your children.
Yeah. Yeah. They're my priority, so to speak.
Yeah. You see, I'll be honest, I have a tough time understanding that.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, it's not that you found, I don't hate animals. I don't hate dogs.
Right.
On the other hand, I like people more.
Yeah, you're more people driven on the charitable side.
And on the other hand, just for me, I'll be honest, it sounds okay. Oh, we all get together and talk about dachshunds and that, and it sounds crazy to me. But at the same time, every Sunday during football season, I meet with a bunch of other guys from Cleveland, and we all go watch the Browns play, which would seem completely stupid to somebody else. But for me, I find it enjoyable. So I'm not knocking it, but I will admit I don't understand it.
Yeah, well, it is. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say a hobby, but just something that everybody has the same interest, the same love. It's a very heartfelt, feeling, and they are our kids.
I'd mentioned earlier that in the past I have talked to a woman that was I talked to a few rescue people. One rescued ferrets, one rescued goats, actually, and one also rescued St. Bernards. Okay, is there a type of animal that nationwide, universally, has the most groups that want to rescue them?
Oh man, I don't know, because there are like these groups that you just mentioned. Those are all breed specific groups. Okay, like the Saint Bernard and the Dachshunds, and I suppose it's a certain kind of goat, but maybe it's different kinds of goats. But there's also all breed rescues. Okay, that will take in all breeds. Okay, and there's a lot of those nationwide. In fact, we have one here in Nebraska down in Auburn called Hearts United for Animals, which is where 2 of my dachshunds came from before our rescue group was formed. And so a lot of rescue groups, all breed and breed specific, are all over. The dream would be one day to have all rescue groups go away, which would then mean the puppy mills are gone, the crappy breeders are gone, the shelters are gone, then it's just responsible breeders maintaining the integrity of the breed, and we can get our dogs from those people.
What kind of dogs are most profitable for the puppy mills?
I think they all are, because it's all puppies. Everybody wants a puppy.
So it doesn't matter if it's a pit bull or if it's a little Lhasa Apso or something, right?
And the pet stores, as you're probably aware of, ask hundreds of thousands of dollars for these puppies that are coming out of a crap hole, in BFE, Nebraska, where the mom and dad are going to be living there for the next 12 years in crappy conditions, stuffed in a cage, no freedom, no space to run around in, no soft place to sleep, no soft place to walk, doesn't know what a blanket is. It's horrible.
You're getting emotional about that, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, when you see pictures and you smell the smell and you see, the reality, something has to change. And that's, why we rescue. We want to make that change.
And if somebody wants to find out more about this, how do they get a hold of you?
They can go to our website at nebraska-dachshund-rescue.org, or we have the Facebook page, Nebraska Dachshund Rescue Facebook page.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate that. Interesting interview, interesting conversation, yet I still like people more. But that's just me. Hey, and I do like people, which means if you want to get a hold of me, follow me on Twitter. You can also email me, Tom, at TomBecka.com, and offer suggestions, offer ideas, or, if you really like me, then you can maybe make a donation, help keep the podcast afloat. Right now, it's a labor of love, but, it's all in my pocket. If you're enjoying it, any support would be appreciated. Until next time, take care and bye, y'all.